Now, I want to talk a little bit about the results of practice, and that's because these days there is a common misconception that basically all spiritual paths and the results are the same. Stefan Wolinski, a modern Western spiritual teacher, claims that the methods of the various spiritual traditions are nothing special in and of themselves. What matters is whether a particular method resonates with the practitioner. If there is this resonance, then that method acts as a key to unlock the portal to spiritual awakening. So for instance, whether you practice Zen meditation or Hindu yoga or Taoism, and even if one were to study quantum mechanics, as long as there is this resonance, then those paths can lead to the same results. This is a highly irrational position. If we take the Christian tradition, there it teaches that if one worships any god other than the God of Abram, then one will be born in hell and not go to heaven. Now one could say that the Christians have got it wrong. They don't understand their own religion. But for me, this is a naive and arrogant position. As for me, I will never challenge a Christian theologian on the basis of their own religion. And that's because, aside from reading a few books, I am not learned in any way in their tradition. And so, what is the practice and results of the Christian religion? Well, the practice is primarily about giving rise to strong faith in God, but also in engaging in virtue and avoiding sin. However, even if one does commit a sin, it can be purified through confession. If one's conduct is very pure and one has unshakable faith, then upon death one will be taken directly to heaven. If one is less pure, and then one has to wait for the judgment day and Armageddon. Now this accords with what is taught in the Buddhist tradition, that those who follow theistic religion on the basis of having faith in the deity and practicing virtue will be born in heavenly realms. Now there's a difference here, because in the Christian tradition it is taught once one gains entry into heaven, then that is eternal and everlasting. But likewise, if one goes to hell, then that's forever with no chance of redemption. In the Buddhist tradition, however, it teaches that even if you are born in heaven, then on the basis of experiencing bliss and happiness, your good karma is exhausted and eventually you will again fall into the lower realms. Likewise, if you are born in hell, on the basis of experiencing suffering, your negative karma is exhausted and eventually you can rise up again through the realms. When it comes to looking at the results of Hindu yoga, then we have a problem here. And that's because the various Hindu traditions, Samkhya, Vedanta, Jains, etc., all have different philosophical positions. And moreover, in India, there's this tendency to see all spiritual paths as the same. And so everything is really mixed up and it's kind of unclear. And so I will use as an example a modern Hindu teacher. Ramana Maharshi teaches that silence is the foundation of all spiritual practice, and by resting in this silence, one reconnects with the stillness that is the essential nature of consciousness. The result of this is a pacification of all thought and perception. Now this also accords with what is taught in the Buddha Dharma, that the Hindu yogis, by immersing themselves in deep samadhi, attain a state of perceptionless absorption. This state, however, is not taught to be final liberation, but merely the highest state of experience within the mundane world. The Shravakas, or Hinayana vehicle of the Buddha Dharma, teach that ordinary beings are not able to achieve this state of final Buddhahood. Instead, by practicing virtue and engaging in the activities of study, contemplation, and meditation, one can be born in the state of an arahat, or foe destroyer. This also accords with what is taught in the Mahayana, or Greater Way vehicle of the Buddha Dharma, that the Shravakas, these Theravada practitioners, do not achieve final Buddhahood, but merely liberation from samsara. Their realization is the realization of no self of the individual, but they do not realize the no self of phenomena. And this accords with what is taught in the Sravaka or Theravada tradition. They accept the no self of the individual, but do not accept the no self of phenomena. They believe that phenomena, such as matter, is made up of quantum particles. These quantum particles themselves are substantial or real, and consciousness is made up of quantum time moments. But these quantum time moments themselves are essentially real. The Mahayana Dharma, however, teaches that these quantum particles are not real in themselves, and likewise, quantum time moments are not substantial or real. What is the difference between the Mahayana and the Hinayana? The Mahayana practitioner achieves a state of final awakening, and the cause for this awakening is giving rise to ultimate bodhicitta. The practice of ultimate bodhicitta is resting in non-referential compassion, free from all elaborations. On emancipation from samsara, their realization is the realization of the no-self of the individual and also the no-self of phenomena. And so why exactly are these differences in the results? And that's because a progressively higher level of view leads to a progressively higher level of result. And so for the Hindu yogis, they still cling to the existence of a self and a soul. Also, they cling to the existence of a permanent God who is the cause of everything. The cause of the mundane world is not God, but a belief in a self. And because the Hindu yogis believe in the self of the individual, which is permanent, pure, and unchanging and real, and the self of God that is permanent, pure, unchanging, and real, then they do not achieve liberation from samsara. The Shravakas, however, realize the no-self of the individual, and so they achieve liberation, but they do not realize the no-self of phenomena, and so they do not achieve final Buddhahood. And not achieving final Buddhahood, they are not able to work for the benefit of sentient beings. In the Mahayana, they realize the no-self of the individual and also the no-self of phenomena. And so they no longer have clinging to any phenomena as being real. On the basis of this, they achieve the state of final Buddhahood. And because they have this non-referential compassion, then they can work for the benefit of sentient beings. And now there are many modern Western teachers these days who teach their own spiritual path, something they've made up themselves. What they teach is that their practice leads to an annihilation of all thought and an emptying of the mind. It's described as a void nothingness. This falls to what is called the extreme of non-existence or nihilism. There are Hindu traditions that teach this kind of nihilism. They are the Lokayata, the ancient Indian sect of hedonists. They don't believe in anything. They don't believe in karma, cause and effect. They don't believe in past and future lives. They believe that mind merely arises out of the elements, and when you die, then there is nothing left. And this is very similar to the position that is taken by modern Western scientists. If we look at the position of most physicists these days, then on the basis of quantum mechanics, they state that things happen randomly, and this is a nihilistic view. So this nihilistic view cannot lead to the results of the Buddha Dharma, and that's because the Buddha Dharma is called the middle way. Now here we are touching on a topic that I would like to cover in a future video, but I'm just going to clarify something. In the Shravakayana, the middle way is taught to be the middle way between the extremes of self-mortification, or this kind of intense yogic practice, and opulence, or getting lost in sense desires. In the Mahayana, it's different. They teach that the middle way is the middle way between the extremes of existence and non-existence, or permanence and nihilism. Permanence refers to, for example, the theistic religions. They believe in a permanent God who is the original cause of the universe. The extreme of non-existence, for example, would be something like the Lokayatas, or the view of many modern theoretical physicists. On the basis of the uncertainty principle, most modern physicists claim that particles can be created in empty space randomly. But this does not accord with their own position, because for the most part, these physicists will also claim that it is necessary for the laws of physics to already be in place before we can have an event such as the Big Bang. These pre-existent physical laws of the universe become the cause for particles being able to be created in space, and so they're not created randomly. There's something there as a precondition. Here we are touching on the topic of the two extremes, and this is something that I want to cover in a future video, but I'm not going to go into it here. I'll leave it at that, and then I'll see you next time. So thank you very much.